Hello everyone, I'm Michaela Kathleen and I'm here today with another top 10 video. And we're branching into kind of a new area here. I'm going to be talking about my top 10 favorite albums. So talking about music now. And jumping right in, number 10 on my list is Rascal Flatts' Me and My Gang, which is maybe not the freshest album on the list. Not something that I'm currently listening to on repeat, but I didn't have any country albums on the list, and this is one of my favorite country albums, so I wanted to include it. And also, this was my very first concert, which I went to with my sister-in-law, and Taylor Swift was the opening act back in her early days. So a lot of fun with this album. I do still kind of always associate it with the Pixar movie Cars, which, unlike most other people, Cars is one of my favorite Pixars. So yes, a fun album and the only country one on the list, because I do like the genre, but it is not my top favorite genre. Moving on, next, number 9, maybe the most controversial pick on this list, because everybody loves to hate this band for some reason. I don't understand. But number 9 is Nickelback, All the Right Reasons, which I like every single song on this album. That is kind of rare, but for this one, it is true. And yeah, I just remember listening to this one on repeat with my best friend as a kid and just absolutely loving it. And rock, especially when I was younger, is one of my top genres. Next, number 8, I have kind of a tie. One is a movie soundtrack and the other is the soundtrack for a television show. So the first one that I'll talk about is the Little Mermaid soundtrack. I had to include a Disney album on this list, and The Little Mermaid is probably my favorite Disney movie soundtrack. Part of Your World is definitely my favorite Disney princess anthem. The only other Disney soundtrack that really kind of competes with this one would be Frozen. But The Little Mermaid was my favorite Disney princess movie growing up. Ariel was my favorite princess. I wanted to be a mermaid and I wanted to have her hair. And I also, much like Ursula, wanted to have her singing voice. So then the other one in this spot is the Nashville soundtrack. I believe season 2, whichever one has the song Black Roses on it. I love that song so much. But yeah, I really enjoyed this musical TV show moment that we had on television a few years back. I enjoyed Nashville and Empire both quite a bit, but Nashville was the ultimate winner for me. Another kind of a memory that sticks out with this one is when I had an internship in California a few years back. I brought 3 CDs with me to live in California for the summer, and I just listened to those 3 on repeat whenever I had to drive anywhere, which is kind of my style. Back before ours completely lost CD players, I don't have a CD player in my car anymore, but back when I did, I would pick just 3 CDs and just have them on rotation for months on end. That is totally my vibe, is just listening to the same 3 albums for months on end and then picking some new ones. And my summer in California, Nashville, was one of those 3. So honorable mention right now to one of those other 3, which was Meghan Trainor's Tidal. And I would honorable mention the third one, but that one is number 1 on this list, so I don't want to give it away. But moving on from that Little Mermaid Nashville tie to number 7 on the list, which is Beyonce's Lemonade. This album is just a masterpiece. It is an absolute crime that it didn't get Best Album the year that it came out at the Grammys. This is a visual album, so there is a music video for every single song, and you can watch the visual album like a movie, and it is just pure artwork from beginning to end. I love all the fashion, all the visuals of all the videos, all the songs, the journey that the album takes you on, the bits of poetry that she wrote and put between the songs on the visual album. This is probably the most creative, highest quality album on this list. Moving on to number 6. At number 6, I have Mclemore and Ryan Lewis's The Heist. I really enjoy songs if I can bop to them, but also laugh at them, which is quite a few songs on this album, like Thrift Shop. I remember when that video first came out and that song and just loving it. It was another kind of white and nerdy moment from Weird Al Yankovic. It gave me those vibes intensely. And so I was so excited when this one came out because I loved white and nerdy back in the day. And kind of honorable mention in the same kind of vein here to Lil Dicky's album Professional Rapper. His sitcom was featured on my top 10 favorite sitcoms. And so I thought I'd also give his album a little honorable mention here alongside Macklemore. Next, number 5, halfway through the list here, we have Panic at the Disco, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. I was definitely into the whole scene kid trend that was popular from maybe 2006 to 2000, maybe 10-ish, the whole MySpace era. So I was into all of those bands, Fall Out Boy, Panic at the Disco, Escape the Fate, all of them, but Panic at the Disco was the real pinnacle for me. And so this album, still to this day, always takes me back to my scene kid days in middle school, early high school. Next, number 4, I have Lady Gaga, The Fame/The Fame Monster. I decided to count this as one album since they were sold together. I remember the very first time I ever heard Poker Face. I took acting classes at the local theater for a lot of years during the summers, and I heard Poker Face for the first time at one of those summer camps, and I just loved the song, loved the fashion, loved the visuals. To this day, Lady Gaga's early music videos are still some of my favorite music videos, and while I loved Born This Way, The Fame and The Fame Monster are just the ones that started it all. Next, number 3 on the list is the oldest one on the list. This was my favorite band as a child and for much of my life, and is still my favorite rock band. And that is Poison, Look What the Cat Dragged In. I got a love of 80s rock from my parents, and Poison has always been my favorite. Bret Michaels of Poison might not be the best live singer of all of these bands from back in the 80s, but their songs were always just so fun to me. And this, what is for me a childhood classic, still just lands high on the list. Next, number 2 is Hamilton. I was a little bit late to the Hamilton train. I heard about it blowing up when it first hit Broadway, and eventually I saw this little documentary about the making of the show just randomly on TV one day, and I thought it looked really interesting, but I just didn't know if I was just really interested in listening to a Broadway soundtrack without getting to actually see the show. But then soon after that I moved away, and so I was living by myself, hadn't made any new friends in the new place I was living, and so I had a lot of free time, and one day I just kind of randomly was like, I'm gonna look for this on SoundCloud and listen to it and see how it is. And from the day I listened to it for the next several months, I listened to the entire show from beginning to end at least once a day, if not 2 or 3 times a day, for months on end. I'm a person, as I mentioned, who will listen to the same album quite often for months on end, but I don't know if I've ever been as intense about it as I was with Hamilton, because it is a long soundtrack. It's almost 3 hours long, and as I said, at least once a day for months and months and months. I was obsessed. I loved all of the songs. I loved the story. I just loved everything about it. So yes, had a real strong Hamilton obsession here, as I have mentioned in other videos on my channel. But moving on to number 1 on the list, I probably never was as obsessed with this one as I was for a while with Hamilton, but soundtrack versus CD is just very different things, and so I put this one in the number 1 spot because it's just a more traditional CD situation, or album situation, whatever terminology you want to use. And that is, at the number 1 spot, Miley Cyrus's Bangers. Hannah Montana was kind of my last big Disney show before I kind of aged out, and woo, did I love it. And I have been on the Miley train ever since. I still will rock out to a good Hannah song, but ultimately my favorite Miley Cyrus album is Bangers. The songs are just so catchy, so fun, so good. This is another one where I like every single song on the album, some more than others, but I do like them all. And yeah, Miley is just kind of my favorite singer. There's something about her voice. It's not like I think she's the most talented singer ever or has the most beautiful voice, but I don't know, I just enjoy her tone. And her songs are just always really good to sing along to, which I love singing along. So that's kind of an important element for me. And yeah, could just listen to this one anytime, anywhere. So yeah, that was my top 10 favorite albums. Let me know down below some of your favorite albums. And now on to the quote for today's video, which today I have one from Dr. Seuss. And it goes, "Be who you are and say what you feel, because those who mind don't matter, and those who matter don't mind." Thanks for watching. Remember, words matter.